Welcome to this lab on configuring a virtual machine and network security group provided by Microsoft. Today we're going to do a step-by-step walkthrough. Go ahead and scan the QR code or copy the link to follow along with the Microsoft lab. To start, we're going to do Unit 3, which is an exercise to create an Azure virtual machine. To configure network access, we must first set up the environment. In the video, create a virtual machine scale set and understand virtual desktops. You may recall that we reviewed the commands used in Unit 3 Lab, which involved creating an Azure virtual machine and installing NGINX. The Microsoft Learn Sandbox has timed out, so we will review setting up the environment. First, let's activate the sandbox. Go ahead and click Sign in to activate Sandbox. It'll bring you up to a pop-up screen where you go ahead and add your information. Next, select Review Permissions. Go ahead and click Accept. And if it asks you to verify your account, go ahead and verify your account. Your terminal is now connected. You have 1 hour to complete the lab before it times out. Now scroll down to Task 1. If you scroll down to the resource group, you can see there's a Learn 8D2A1, blah, 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 blah. Sometimes the resource group name is missing. And if the command is missing the sandbox resource group, you can use the AZ group list to obtain the sandbox group name, or refresh your screen and see if the command updates with the sandbox resource group name. And here you can just scroll down to the word name and you'll see the learn. So you can always copy this out of here and paste it into the command that you have over here. If for some reason when your terminal loaded up, you don't have the resource group name. Now let's go ahead and start Task 1. So use the azvm create command to create a Linux virtual machine. A virtual machine is a software-based representation of a server. Sometimes you'll hear the words used interchangeably. So go ahead and select copy. You can also manually copy it using Control-C, paste, and hit enter. So while this is running, let's talk about what this command actually means. The slash is called a backslash. In Azure CLI, the backslashes state the line continues, which allows the command to span multiple lines for easier readability. When executing the command, the system ignores the backslashes and treats the command as a single line. Therefore, you don't need to include the backslashes if you write the command as a single line. azvm create. This command creates a virtual machine in Azure. Resource group. The command sets the resource group. A resource group in Azure is a logical container that helps you manage and organize resources. When creating a virtual machine, one of the steps is to determine the resource group location of the virtual machine. By associating your virtual machine with a specific resource group, you can have greater control over the management, access, and billing of your Azure resources. The Learn number is a resource group name for the future home of the virtual machine. You can name your resource group whatever, but this is just Microsoft's standard naming convention for their resource groups. --name. This command specifies the name of the virtual machine. In this case, the VM will be named myVM. --public-IP-SKU standard. The command sets the SKU, the service level agreement, for the public IP address associated with the virtual machine. Public-IP-SKU refers to the SKU, the stock keeping unit, for a public IP address. Public IP addresses in Azure expose resources, such as virtual machines or load balancers, to the internet. The standard, SKU, stock keeping unit, indicates a specific tier or level of features and capabilities associated with the public IP address. The standard SKU provides additional functionalities compared to the basic SKU. --image. This command specifies the image of the operating system for the virtual machine. In this case, the VM will use the Ubuntu 2204 image. --admin-username. This command sets the username for the administrator account on the virtual machine. In this case, the username is Azure user. --generate-SSH keys. This flag indicates that the command will create SSH keys for authentication instead of a password. SSH keys provide more secure access to the virtual machine. This command will create a virtual machine named my-VM. in the specified resource group using the Ubuntu 20.04 image. The public IP address associated with the VM will have a standard SKU and SSH keys for authentication. And here you can see the output confirms that our virtual machine was created, what the IP address is, and the MAC address. Now let's continue on to step 2. In step 2 of task 1, we're going to run the following azvm extension set command to configure NGINX on your virtual machine. Go ahead and copy and paste, and then hit enter. NGINX is a unique software used to serve websites and handle web traffic. It's like a powerful server that can simultaneously handle many people visiting a website. NGINX is known for being fast and can handle many connections without slowing down. It can also help distribute the load across different servers to ensure the website runs smoothly. It can even cache, which is store copies of the web pages to make them load faster. NGINX can also provide extra security features to protect websites from bad things happening. The purpose of this command is to set the custom script extension on the specified virtual machine, my-vm. The extension will download a script from the provided URL, https://raw.github user content, Microsoft Docs. You can go ahead and navigate to the command. The extension will download a script from the provided URL. Here you can see the URL. Well, let's talk about the GitHub script. So for more information about the script, we're going to navigate to the GitHub site and review the custom script. So let's take a look at this. Update the cache. That just means we want to update the stuff that's being stored. So we see sudo apt-get update. This step helps ensure that the following command can locate the latest version of the package. Next, we're going to install NGINX. apt-get install -y nginx-core is the command used to install NGINX. Next, we want to set our home page to index.html. And when anybody navigates to that page, we want them to receive a welcome message that says, "Welcome to Azure. My name is my-vm." Before we get into the next slide, I realize you may want to protect yourself when browsing online at a public location, and when it comes to that, our sponsor, NordVPN, is an absolute game changer. It provides secure, high-speed VPN access, malware protection, dark web monitoring, and a tracker and ad blocker. NordVPN is an absolute game changer. With the click of a button, you can protect yourself against cyber criminals attempting to steal your data from your laptop and phone. If you want to check their services out for yourself, scan the QR code or click the link in the description below. Again, the link is down below. Clicking the link below helps me make great content for you. Now let's go back to the lab. azvm extension set. The extension set is an Azure CLI command used to set a virtual machine extension. --resource group. This command specifies the virtual machine's resource group. -vm-name, my-vm. This command specifies the name of the virtual machine. --name, custom script. The custom script specifies the name of the extension. In this case, it's a custom script extension. --publisher Microsoft Azure.extensions, which just tells us who the publisher is. --version.2.1. The command specifies the version of the extension. --settings, file. This command specifies the settings for the extension. This file contains a URI, which is the Uniform Resource Identifiers, which is a way to identify resources on the internet, such as a file, location, or website. A URL is a subset of a URI. --protected, -settings, command to execute, configure NGINX. This command specifies protected settings for the extension in the command to execute. On the screen, you can see the output of the command. Now let's go ahead and move over to Unit 9. Sign in to activate the sandbox. On the screen, you can see that we have 42 minutes remaining on our sandbox instead of the hour, which is a good sign, which means that most likely our sandbox continued to connect. We want to confirm this by typing the word azvm list. And that will verify that our virtual machine that we just created is still running. If you receive an empty response of .. you must complete the module's first exercise again. You may continue if you see the results list of your current virtual machine and its settings. So here we can see all of these. We can see what subscription it's in. We can scroll down here. Here we go, My VM. So we can confirm that our virtual machine is still active. We have our Azure user that we created in the last lab. Now we're good to go on to task 1, access your web server. I'm going to clear the screen just to make it a little bit easier by typing the word clear. Task 1, step 1. We're going to run the following azvmlist IP addresses command to get your virtual machine's IP address and store the results as a bash variable. Go ahead and copy the script and paste it. And select enter. In this procedure, you get the IP address for your virtual machine and attempt to access your web server's homepage. The command assigns the public IP address to the virtual machine you created, named my-vm, to a variable called IP address. So let's take a look at the command. IP address, that's what sets the variable. Backslash allows multiple line commands for readability, but the system executes them as single lines, making the backslashes redundant. azvm list-ip-addresses. This command queries the public IP address of the virtual machines. --name vm-vm, the name of the virtual machine. --query, a query is asking for something to happen. Brackets, virtual machine, network, public IP address. This segment requests to extract the IP address from the JSON text output that has resulted from azvm-list-IP addresses. And finally, we have --output TSV. The output TSV part instructs the Azure CLI to format the output as a tab-separated values, TSV. The TSV command output is structured to facilitate easy parsing and processing using tools that support tab-separated value formats. When the command successfully runs, you will not see any output. Now let's take a look at step 2. Run the following curl command to download the homepage. curl-connect-timeout http // IP addresses. So let's go ahead and copy that, paste it, and hit enter. Let's take a moment to break down the command. Curl. Well, what is curl? Curl is a command line tool and library for transferring data with URLs. It supports various protocols including HTTP, HTTPS, and FTP. Using a command line interface, curl allows users to interact with and transfer data to or from servers. It is a versatile and widely used tool for automated data transfers, fetching websites, and testing web servers. Connect-timeout. The argument specifies to allow up to 5 seconds for the connection to occur. After 5 seconds, you'll see an error message that states connection timed out. HTTP $/ IP addresses. The HTTP / prefix indicates that the protocol for the request sign IP addresses calls the variable and asks for the virtual machine's IP address. Once the command executes, you will see a connection timed out error, which means the virtual machine is not accessible within the timeout period. Failed to connect to the IP address, timeout was reached. Now scroll down to step 3. As an optional step, try to access the web server from the browser. Run the following to print your virtual machine's IP address to the console. Go ahead and copy it and paste, and select enter. Now we have our IP address. Copy the IP address you see. Copy. Open a new browser tab and hit paste. And it may take a while before it actually gives you an error. Here you can see the site can't be reached. The command worked as we hoped it would. It gave us an error message that says, hey, we can't access the website. So now let's scroll on down to task 2. Here we're going to list the current network security group rules. Network security group, NSG for short. Run the following AZ network NSG list command to list the network security groups that are associated with your virtual machine. Go ahead and copy the command, paste it, and hit enter. The purpose of this command is to obtain a list of network security groups within a specific resource group. Let's go ahead and take a look at this command. AZ network NSG list. The Azure CLI command instructs the tool to retrieve a list of network security groups. -- resource group. This command says which resource group to pull the names of the network security groups from. If the resource group name is not populated, use the command az group list to pull the resource group ID. -- query, brackets name. This command part specifies the information extracted from the output. In this case, it retrieves the network security group's names or names. -- output tsv. This command instructs the Azure CLI tool to format the output as a tab-separated values, which can be helpful for further processing or analysis of the data. In the terminal, you will see the output of my-vm nsg. Each virtual machine must be associated with at least one security group, and you can see that our output just says my-vm nsg, which means we're not associated with any network security group. Now let's move to Task 2, Step 2. Run the following az network nsg rule list command to list the rules associated with the NSG named my-vm nsg. Let's go ahead and copy the command and paste it and hit enter. And we'll break down the command. AS network NSG list. This command lists the network security group rules. Resource group. The command specifies the resource group you want to know about the NSGs. -- name my-vm nsg. This flag specifies the name of the specific network security group you want information on. The example targets an NSG named my-vm nsg. You can replace my-vm nsg with the other security groups if you want more experience viewing rules. In the next step, we'll parse the information, making things easier to read. Let's scroll down to Task 2, Step 3. Run the az network nsg rule list command a second time. This time, use the -- query argument to retrieve only the name, priority, affected ports, and access. We want to understand what's being allowed and denied for each rule. The -- output argument formats the output as a table so that it's easy to read. Go ahead and copy the command, paste it, and hit enter. To break down the command, az network security group rule list lists the network security group rules with the resource group name. This flag specifies the resource group from which the network security group where the rules belong. -- nsg name my-vm nsg. This option specifies the name of the specific NSG. In this instance, it is targeting an NSG named my-vm nsg. If you're doing this on your own at home, you can create other network security groups and substitute it with that name. -- query, name, priority, port, destination, port range, access. This query is a question that says, I want to know what the name, priority, destination, port range, and access are allowed. In -- output table, this flag instructs the Azure CLI to format the output as a table, making it more readable and easy to comprehend. Scrolling down to Task 3, create the network security group rule. In the previous task, you set up a server, but you couldn't access the website. Before we address this issue, it is essential to lay the groundwork by discussing some fundamental concepts. Let's start by exploring HTTP and HTTPS. Although this lab won't involve HTTPS, I prefer incorporating additional security measures whenever possible. To explain, let's use the analogy of Triangle InfoSecon Cybersecurity Conference. Port 80 is the main entrance where most people get their badges. Similar to regular traffic, HTTP web traffic over port 80. It's like walking through the front door of the venue. On the other hand, port 443 is like the VIP entrance, where security checks are stricter and it's only for secure encrypted traffic. It's similar to having an access to a unique, exclusive area at the venue. Accessing a regular website, your browser sends a request to the web server through the main entrance, port 80. However, when doing something more private or secure, like logging into your online bank account, the request goes through the VIP entrance, port 443. This way, the information is encrypted and secure, just like a special VIP area or leadership track in a venue provides extra privacy and security. In this task, we have to unlock the door to the main entrance, allowing HTTP traffic on port 80. Run the following az network nsg rule create command to create a rule called allow HTTP that allows inbound access to port 80. Copy the command, paste it, and hit enter. Breaking down the command, AS network NSG rule creates. This command creates a new network security group. -resource uses the command to specify the resource group and the network security group. -nsg-name says either name my rule or use this rule, and we will name our NSG rule my-bm NSG. It'll either create the rule for you or use an existing rule. -name allow -http. This option sets the rule's name to allow -http. This rule allows incoming HTTP traffic over port 80. -protocol TCP specifies the protocol for the rule. In this case, the command specifies Transmission Control Protocol. TCP ensures that the data is error-free and the destination receives the data in correct order. Use priority to set the priority of the rule. It is similar to any to-do list. The higher numbers are processed first. For this lab, set the priority at 100. Depending on your line of work, you may have things that need to take precedence, such as network traffic related to stock trades, financial transactions, real-time market data updates, and electric trading systems often require high priority to ensure timely, accurate processing for financial markets. -destination-port-range 80. The command specifies the destination port range for the traffic to which this rule will apply. In this case, it allows traffic over port 80. You could also set it up to do 80, 80, 80, 443, various different ports. -access allow. The command access allow sets the access for the traffic specified by the rule. In this case, it's allowing the specified traffic from the destination port as indicated by allow. In step 2, to verify the configuration, run AZ network NSG rule list to see the updated list of rules. Copy the command, paste it. The following command verifies the completion of the previous rule and displays the information in a table. This command produces a comprehensible table displaying the specified properties of the rules within the targeted network security group, which provides an organized, concise overview of the selected rules properties for the NSG. Command breakdown. AZ network NSG rule list. This command instructs the Azure CLI to list the rules of the network security group. -resource group. This flag specifies the resource group name where the network security group lives. -nsg-name my-vm NSG. This time, we asked about the rules in the NSG group. My-vm NSG. Query. This part of the command employs a JMES path to specify the specific properties of the network security group rules to include in the output. The query retrieves the names, priorities, destination port range, referred to as a port, and access properties for each NSG rule in specified NSG. In -output table, the flag directs the Azure CLI tool to format the output as a table, facilitating a clear and easily digestible presentation of the selected rule properties for the NSG. In the output, you will see the default rule allowing SSH, secure shell, over port 22, and our new rule allowing web traffic over port 80. Go ahead and scroll down to task 4. Access your web server again. Run the same curl command that you ran earlier. Copy it, paste, and hit enter. Welcome to Azure. My name is my-vm. So here it looks like the web page is working. And if we want to just do an extra step and continue it, we come back over to our IP address that we had earlier and hit refresh. And you can see we can now access your web page. Welcome to Azure. My name is my-vm. Nice work. In practice, you can create a standalone network security group that includes inbound and outbound network access rules you need. If you have multiple virtual machines and serve the same purpose, you can assign the network security group to each VM at the time you create it. This technique enables you to control network access multiple virtual machines under a single central set of rules. And cleanup. The sandbox automatically cleans up your resources when you're finished with this module. If you're following along with your own Azure portal, make sure you stop your virtual machine, stop it or delete it so you don't incur so many charges. And go ahead and complete the module. And I'd like to thank you for watching.